are we?
We are the American Teen Princess Podcast.
That's us.
Brought to you by the Pooter Press. Today, we are going to be talking about some of our favorite and least favorite book-to-film adaptations. A lot of movies are based on books, obviously. And so, you know, we're here to talk about some of them.
Here we are.
First up on my list, I've got The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh.
It is a fantastic novel. It's written very interestingly.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's written in the book as a bunch of letters that the main character Charlie writes to somebody that we don't know.
An unknown
person. And it's just a really, really sweet story. I think a lot of people have seen and or read this one.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think it's like Lily, obviously.
Has Lily done neither?
I have not.
You haven't done either?
Mm-mm.
Oh my god!
That's insane to me.
I have in my notes here, if you haven't seen or read it, shame on you. For shame.
You are banned.
I've seen the scene where they're listening to Heroes and going through the tunnel. I go, I want to do that.
See,
well, that's a good scene.
it is a really good scene. I got to do that in Pittsburgh with the tunnel, and it was very, very magical for me. And my dad was...
your dad was driving and not your cool older friends.
He was really, really confused about it. He was like, why is this so important? And I said, hush now. But, yeah, I think this book is really important to me. It's very popular. It is like the ultimate coming-of-age story, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Lily's making some faces, showing us, obviously, that she has not seen or read this, which is just so sad.
So some basic plot summary.
Go ahead.
Is there's this young boy named Charlie, portrayed by Logan Lerman, I believe.
Something like that.
Something like that is how the actor's name is pronounced. He was Percy Jackson, which we'll touch on later. But it's about this young boy, Charlie. He's about 14. It's his freshman year of high school. And in his 8th grade year, he went through a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah. You bet he did.
We're not going to touch on it specifically, but he had, like, a pretty rough childhood, a pretty rough, young, older childhood years. And so he's going into high school. He's very quiet. And he doesn't really have a lot of friends, and he's real nervous about going into high school. And then he meets these two older kids, Patrick and Sam, portrayed by Ezra Miller and Emma Watson. Yeah. And they basically kind of take Charlie under their wing and help him through high school. And he's also guided by his English teacher, portrayed by Paul Rudd.
That's true. I always forget he's in that movie. I love Paul Rudd.
Mae Whitman is another cool older high schooler. The one chick from Victorious plays his older sister. And Cousin Greg from Succession is her boyfriend.
Oh, God. No, that's so weird.
But no. So that's the basic outline of the book and the movie.
It's really, really good. I think it's really good about how it portrays trauma, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's just absolutely beautiful the way these characters are with each other. Like, it's amazing. Fantastic soundtrack.
And, I don't know, I can't remember how much he was involved. I think he was definitely one of the writers, maybe director?
Yes.
But the author of the book was heavily involved in the film adaptation. So.
I'm pretty sure that he wrote the script and was like, he was a big part, which I think that's what makes it such a good adaptation.
Yeah, it is very true to the novel.
And it's like how the story was meant to be told, you know? Like, even when it fixes up some things, you know it came from the author of the book. Mm-hmm. So that's really important. One
other thing to touch on, killer soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. No, it's so good.
It is ridiculously good. Like Lily mentioned, Heroes by David Bowie is a very focal point of the movie. If you've read the book, you'll know that the song Asleep by the Smiths is very important in the book and is used in the movie. Come On Eileen is an amazing song choice. It's just killer mix of like 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's just really good soundtrack.
Fantastic. It's so good.
How does it compare to the book?
It's very, very accurate.
Good
it's
adaptation.
Like
very
absolutely
good.
Fantastic.
Really
adaptation.
well acted.
Yes.
Ezra Miller, horrible person.
But hot.
There's that.
Agreed.
Nice face.
Pretty face. Great actor.
Horrible person.
My personal favorite part of the acting of the movie is that this is at an age where Emma Watson was pretty much straight out of doing the Harry Potter movies. This is one of her first soirees into the American accent. She struggles a little bit.
Just a little bit.
She does really good overall, but if you compare her American accent in Perks of Being a Wallflower to her American accent in Greta Gerwig's Little Women, you can see the growth because there are certain words that she pronounces in Perks that you go, that's not American, is it?
I will say it is easy to ignore.
Mm-hmm. It's not like horrible or noticeable, but when you're thinking about it, it's silly to go,
Yeah, so next up on my list, I have got one of my favorite... I know I say that a lot, okay? I know I say that a lot, but this time I really mean it.
Because I know what movie it is.
I really mean it. It is The Power of the Dog. It is...
See, I'm the one who hasn't seen or read this one.
Right.
It's just so good.
And if you are going to see it, I need you to have me right next to you explaining
And me.
everything.
No,
and
thank you.
Whispering into your ear like, that's important, notice that later.
I do that. God, I love that movie.
No, it is seriously one of my favorite stories of all time. It is insanely interesting. So, it's about this sort of sadistic cowboy. His name is Phil. And
played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Benedict Cumberbatch. He does an amazing job, I think. People complained about his accent, but to that I say...
I think it's nice. I think it's a good cowboy accent.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, they're not in the South, you know. Yeah. They're in Montana. He's not supposed to have a Southern accent.
It's up there.
It's up there. He lives with his really sweet brother, George. They live on their family's ranch together, and George meets this widow. Her name is Rose. And George marries this gal. And Phil is not too happy about it. He is very controlling, and he sort of starts, like, psychologically torturing Rose.
Which sucks because George loves Rose so much, and he takes care of her, but then...
Phil is kind of a troublemaker.
and then this, Rose's son. Oh, goody, oh boy.
So Rose's son moves in with them, and... things get kind of crazy.
To put it lightly.
I would like to mention that Phil is a deeply repressed homosexual man, and he has like this kind of an obsession with his dead buddy. I tried to air quotes with the mouth, buddy.
Air quotes with the mouth.
They were pals.
And, this guy's name is Bronco Henry. That's a silly name.
That's stupid.
It's a funny name to have, but it's a really intense story. I don't want to get into it because there's an ending that is just crazy. You know, I don't want to spoil it.
I will say I'm not going to spoil it, but I will say how the ending plays out is just came out of freaking nowhere. Like how they played it out was really genius in the movie, I feel. Because
I feel like like the way these two characters, the son's name is Peter, the way Peter and Phil are like, the way they do things in the end.
And how they interact.
Like, they are both sort of plotting against each other, and it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well. And I think it's just really interesting because those characters are just insanely well written, and the way they're just like going head to head in the most like subtle way is really interesting. And I think it's awesome to have like this sort of old Western background to a story that is this like intense, and it's really, really interesting. And I think it does a really great job with the adaptation. Jane Campion is the director. She's very famous. And it's gorgeous to look at, and like it's just insane. And like the way that, you know, some things are changed from the book, but it's also like it's important that it's changed, you know? Like there's a scene from the movie that is my favorite scene in any movie ever, because it is so intense, and it is nowhere to be found in the book. And there are some scenes from the book that aren't in the movie, but they're still really important, and I think they just both, like, complement each other really well without, like, taking from the other one, you know? It's a very interesting story, and I think I would highly recommend it.
Would you...
Sad that you haven't seen it.
Would you suggest I read the book or watch the film first?
I watched the film first, but honestly, I don't think it matters that much. Like, as long as you do both of them, like...
As long as you're doing them both at the same time.
I think it's really interesting, and I think I love talking about it. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Didn't you also read the script for that movie?
I haven't read the script for that one. I should, but I
think you read the script for Lady Bird.
I read a lot of scripts.
I've read a couple of scripts.
I've read a couple of scripts.
It's hard to remember which ones.
Yeah. Next on my list, I've got Fight Club.
This is good.
Yeah.
Lily just watched this one.
I did.
Lily
fresh
did
in
just
my
watch this
mind.
one. Nina and I entered our male manipulator eras earlier this year, and we
Back
read
in,
Fight Club.
January.
Yeah, we read Fight Club, and it was a lot.
I'd like to tell my story.
Go ahead.
So, I watched Fight Club for the first time probably like a year or two ago. Enjoyed it. Thought it was good. Wasn't really like that much in my mind afterwards. Recently, last year, about, I would say March or April of this year. Yeah, earlier this year, not last year, sorry. I was grounded. I did something naughty. I got in trouble.
What'd you do?
I was procrastinating a pretty big assignment and lying about it. Whatever. I don't want to talk about it. I was grounded. Technology was revoked from me. I was not allowed to have my little telephone or my little TV. What I did during this time that was meant to be spent on homework and self-reflection was I read the novel Fight Club twice in a row.
Oh my god.
Read it, finished it, reread it, then gave it to Andrea and made her read it.
And it was great.
Can you give it to me?
Great, I will. I'm pretty sure Andrea gave it back to me.
Yeah, I did.
But, so, just to say the plot of both the novel and the book, it's...
We're not supposed to talk about Fight Club.
Like from
Go ahead.
Most people probably know this. Fight Club is one of the, like, most popular films of all time. I think the book is definitely less popular than the movie.
Yeah.
But it's about the main character is only referred to as the narrator. Mm-hmm. It's from the first person perspective in the book.
Yep.
It's in the first person in the book, and his name is never revealed, and his name is never revealed in the movie. He is credited only as the narrator, played by Edward Norton in the film. Smash. The narrator is this man who works for, like, a car insurance company. He has this horrible dead-end job that he hates. Stupid dead-end job, stupid dead-end wife. And no, he has to travel a lot for work, and through this travel, he develops a really bad case of insomnia.
That's true.
And then he meets this man, Tyler Durden, played by a beautiful 90s Brad Pitt.
So hard.
Ripped and beach blonde and gorgeous.
He is bloody the whole time.
And so sweaty.
Anyways, Tyler Durden and the narrator become these very... Oh, I forgot to mention. The narrator also starts getting this addiction to... God, what would you call it?
Support groups?
Yeah, like support therapy
like
for people with, like,
Anonymous and cancer groups.
Diseases, like blood diseases and brain cancer. He doesn't have any of these things, but he goes to all of these support groups.
So he can cry, so he can sleep.
Yes. And then, and at one of these, he meets a woman named Marla Singer, who also goes to a bunch of support groups lying about it. I don't think it's revealed why she goes.
Tell her who she's played by.
She is played by a beautiful, sexy 90s Helena Bonham Carter. Anyways, so these are all these are the three main characters. So the narrator and Tyler become friends. Tyler is like, you know what feels really good? Beating another dude up and also getting beat up. And the narrator's like, damn, bro, you are so right. So they start a little fight club for men who, so they can all beat each other up. And things begin to escalate from there, basically.
It gets pretty crazy.
It does. I did not
There's
see
a
the
weird,
twist coming.
There's a very good, very classic twist at the end. There's a weird love triangle thing going on between Tyler, Marla, and the narrator.
So good.
So much homosexual subtext.
No,
I will just say.
If the narrator and Tyler would just kiss, like,
Things will be fixed.
Ed Norton and Brad Pitt look lovingly into each other's eyes and
a total of like 15
get
times.
really close
And
to
he
each
goes- he
other's
goes,
faces.
Why are you leaving me out? Why are you leaving me out, Brad Pitt? And then he goes, because we got a smooch.
It's really silly. It is just, we talked about it in the last episode when talking about Donnie Darko of films that have kind of been taken over by like the toxic incel male culture.
This is a big one.
This is one of, if not the biggest and most classic.
Mm-hmm.
But the very interesting thing about Fight Club is that it was written by a homosexual man.
That's true.
To portray like a satire of toxic masculinity, and then was adapted by, I believe, a female director.
I don't think so. It was David Fincher.
Oh, definitely not. But anyways, it was written by a gay man, meant to be a satire about like toxic masculinity, and similar to, I'm thinking of American Psycho.
Yeah, you are.
But like American Psycho, it's just one of those that all of the like satire and irony and like subtext of the novel
Goes right over their
has been
heads.
completely ignored by men who
Like
are
Barbie.
like, Brad Pitt is hot and sexy and beats people up and hates women, and I am one of those things too, and I will be just like him. But if you, again, watch Fight Club or read the novel through like the mindset it's supposed to be seen
A
as,
critical feminist perspective.
good job, Lily.
Thank you, Mr. Graftiza.
It is just funny and smart and incredibly well done, and I think if you look at it through that perspective, I know a lot of people are against being involved with it just because of the culture that circulates around
I would
it.
say give it a chance, even if that's
Give
your
it a
See,
chance.
that's what I thought going into it, and then Andrea was like, Lily, you have to watch it. And I watched it, and I was like, why do the frat boys like this?
No, it's just so good. Andrea and I got obsessed with it, where we would talk about it all the time,
That's true.
relentlessly
Yep.
for like 2 months. We had a hardcore Fight Club phase.
Yup. It was pretty intense.
I will say, going back to the topic of this podcast, I think it being adapted from the book, I do think it was done well. The movie definitely changes some things.
Yeah. I will say one thing. They, Tyler and the narrator meet on a nude beach.
Yikes!
On a plane in the movie.
A nude beach in the book. Nude play.
Nude plane?
I
You know
wish.
those nude planes you get on?
No, I think you can kind of tell that the book was written more with that like ironic gay man perspective.
Yeah.
And it's a lot stronger on the homosexual subtext, and I think you can tell that the movie was directed by David Fincher.
Yeah.
Just like
That's true.
you can tell that the perspectives are definitely a little bit different. I do think it's a very good adaptation. I think obviously the cast we've been
Exactly.
that noise is accurate. That's
Yeah, so pretty great. Next I have Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? This is a film based... No, don't move that.
I love Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
It is a film based on Homer's The Odyssey, if you want to consider that a book, which I am going to. The Odyssey is a long poem about some guy trying to get home, and he meets, like...
Some guy.
He meets...
Odysseus, Andrea. The Greek hero Odysseus, not just some dude.
Some man named Tim.
And he meets, like, cyclopses and lotus eaters and witches and things, and the movie is about a trio of runaway convicts in the 30s in
The
Mississippi.
main one, played by George Clooney.
He's so great in this
Early
movie.
2000s George Clooney with a little southern accent being silly and hot and lovely. I love George Clooney.
He's really funny. And, you know, they meet their 1930s Mississippi equivalent of cyclopses and lotus eaters and witches and things.
Mm-hmm.
George Clooney, obviously, fantastic. We love him. It was done by the Coen brothers. So they're really good at doing movies.
They make incredible folk and country soundtracks.
That's true.
And I think Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is one of the best examples of that. That soundtrack, I listen to it and pretend that I am a boxcar child. I'm not even kidding. When I'm on the bus and I'm in a certain mood, I put in my little headphones and listen to the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack and pretend I'm one of the boxcar children. And I got my little stick with my little bandana around it, and I'm riding through the countryside.
Oh my god,
so
no.
good.
It's a really funny movie also. It's absolutely gorgeous to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Soundtrack is great. I think it's so funny, and seeing the connections between the movie and the source material is really interesting because it takes like directly from the source material, but also it's 1930s Mississippi
It's
and
a
not
very
ancient
strange.
Greece.
I would compare it to the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet from the 90s, but different in a different way.
Yeah.
Where
I think it's really, really interesting taking classic stories like that and turning it into something that's sort of modern.
I guess it would be more closer to 10 Things I Hate About You than
Yeah.
Romeo and
Oh,
Juliet,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's like an adaptation, but not direct.
Yeah.
But still, like, enough where you can watch it and be like, oh my god, that's the thing, by the one guy.
No, I think that's really, really interesting. That's one of my favorite things to see.
I think we might have to cut it here
Wait.
and then restart.
Okay. No, I think we can swing it, okay?
I need to talk about Ready Player
We've got, we can't do this without mentioning all of these YA fantasy and dystopia novels that a lot of us grew up on, and I know I was a major nerd about all of these, and...
Go fast, run through
Yes,
them.
I know. I was like the embodiment of 2012.
Andrea, Galaxy Pants. Yikes!
I had the Hunger Games pin. I had a shirt that said, "The girl on fire."
The girl.
Okay. First of all, we've got the Hunger Games.
Oh, I love.
Go wild.
Okay.
I recently, last year, read all of the books. I have not seen any of the movies, fun fact, but I read the entire trilogy in like a month.
Like Andrea. I didn't like Percy Jackson. I was a Hunger Games girl, right? Like,
I was a Percy
so
Jackson.
I read all the books first because I'm that kind of girl, right? And so I read all the books and then I watched the movies. And it was like, they tried.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're good. Okay. Like, they're good movies, you know? Like, I enjoy them. I go out of my way to watch them. But there's some of the stuff, like, in the last book with them storming the Capitol, it's like, you could have done so good and made this so beautiful. And then...
It doesn't work.
It's not. It just, like,
Doesn't work too well.
I think the books are better than the movies, but I
Yeah.
do enjoy the movies because Jennifer Lawrence,
Yeah.
Josh Hutcherson,
Yeah.
Liam Hemsworth.
There's quite a cast on that thing.
There-
Liam
Liam Hemsworth
Hemsworth kind of just looks.
He kind of ruins it, but
Who's the guy who plays?
I love him.
Haymitch.
Haymitch. I do love him.
What's the actor's name? What's the actor's name?
Who's to say?
I don't remember.
I love him. I love him in other things.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
I think the Hunger Games, like,
so good.
YA blueprint for dystopia.
Yeah,
It was a big
Every
thing.
other, it's a
Yeah.
Hunger Games ripoff.
Percy Jackson. Boy, oh boy, did I love these books.
So, I was a hardcore Percy Jackson kid.
Yes, yeah, you were.
Technically I was a Harry Potter kid first, but then J.K. Rowling destroyed that for me. Anyways, I am a huge Percy Jackson kid. I have read all 3 of the series with 5 books. So, the Percy Jackson, the Heroes of Olympus, the Trials of Apollo.
Yep.
And then I read the Norse mythology ones.
Yep.
And, oh my god, I love them. Anyways, the movies, ass. Everyone knows it.
They're all bad.
They're horribly inaccurate to the source material.
Absolutely. Rick Riordan had nothing to do with the production of those.
And it shows.
It does.
The casting is off. Not to say that Logan Lerman didn't do great, because he did. He was incredible. Not it. He was the wrong Percy at the wrong time.
That's true.
The casting was off. The plot was not realistic. Obviously it wasn't realistic. It's about monsters and things. But it wasn't like... Oh, shit,
We can do it. Keep going.
It doesn't go along with the books. Anyways, I love the books. I am very hopeful for the new TV show coming out on
Really
Disney
excited
Plus
about that.
later this year. Rick Riordan
Whatever.
has been very heavily involved in the production of that.
Yep.
So I'm very hopeful that it will stay more accurate than the 2000s movies.
Absolutely. No, it's going to be great.
We gotta talk about Ready Player One.
Go ahead.
Quick. Okay, so Ready Player One. It is my favorite dystopian novel, right? It's my favorite one. It is so good. And then they butchered it in this movie. Like, the movie by itself is really good, but then you take it, they did all the trials differently. You get how the main character finds out about the virtual reality wrong. It's like... It's used as, like, a source of education. Like, it's like virtual reality school so people can safely go to school, right? And it is so good in the book. And and they butcher it in the movie, and the acting is bad, the casting is bad, they change so many things in the story. So if you consume that, read the flippin' book, because the movie sucks. Or read the book and then watch the movie knowing that the movie sucks. That's all. I feel very passionately about that movie.
Yeah, so that's our...
The bell just rang. That's where we gotta end. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Those are our book to movies adaptations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce Willis.